Picture this. Your bank account shows $847. Rent is due in 3 days, $1,400. And your car just started making that sound. You know the one. That grinding, whining noise that says your transmission is about to become a very expensive paperweight. The check engine light has been on for 2 weeks now, glowing on your dashboard like a little orange reminder that you're one mechanical failure away from complete disaster. So you're sitting there doing the math. Do I fix the car and pay rent late? Do I ignore the car and hope it lasts another month? Do I ask my landlord for an extension I know they won't give me? And here's the thing nobody tells you about being broke. Everything costs more when you can't afford it. I am dead serious. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, you are paying double, sometimes triple, for the exact same things that wealthy people buy. The same car, the same apartment, the same groceries, the same basic necessities of existence. Except you're getting charged a premium for the crime of not having money in the first place. Think about that for a second. Your bank charges you $34 because you were $2 short on your account. You pay $400 more in interest on your car loan because your credit score is 20 points lower. You spend an extra $1,000 a year on household items because you can't afford to buy in bulk. You lose entire days of your life sitting in waiting rooms and taking buses to save $20. It's not just expensive to be poor, it's mathematically designed to keep you that way. The system isn't broken, it's working exactly as intended. There are entire industries built on extracting wealth from people who don't have any wealth to extract. And they've gotten very, very good at it. I've spent way too much time reverse engineering the invisible equations that trap 64% of Americans in this cycle. I'm talking about the actual math, the compound interest calculations, the opportunity costs, the hidden fees and the time taxes and the poverty premiums that most people never even notice because they're too busy trying to survive, to stop and add it all up. And when you do add it up, it's horrifying. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars over a lifetime. Money that could have been invested, saved, used to build actual wealth. Instead, it's being siphoned off by a system that charges you extra for not having extra. So here's what we're doing today. I'm going to show you exactly how much more you're paying. Not vague estimates, real numbers, the actual markup on poverty. We're going to expose the systems that profit from your empty bank account, the banks that charge you for being poor, the lenders that price gouge based on your credit score, the retailers that know you can't afford to save money, the transportation trap that keeps you stuck, the time tax that steals your most valuable resource. By the end of this, you're going to see every dollar you spend differently. You're going to understand why you feel like you're running on a hamster wheel. And more importantly, you're going to know the specific moves that break the cycle. Because here's the thing. Once you understand the math, once you see the trap, you can start dismantling it piece by piece. But first we need to talk about banks. Because if you want to understand the broke tax, you have to start with the institutions that literally charge you money for not having money. The average overdraft fee in America is $34. $34 because you miscalculated by $3. Because your paycheck hit your account 6 hours later than you expected. Because you forgot about that one subscription you signed up for 6 months ago. And here's the beautiful part. That fee can trigger more fees. Your account goes negative. Another charge hits. Now you're $50 in the hole. Another fee, now it's $84. I've seen people rack up $200 in overdraft fees in a single week. Low-income Americans pay approximately $200 per year in bank fees. $200. Meanwhile, wealthy people pay zero, actually less than zero, because they're earning interest on their account balances. So the people who can least afford it are subsidizing the banking system for the people who can most afford it. It's wealth extraction dressed up as financial services. And it gets worse. 9 million American households are completely unbanked. They don't have checking accounts at all. So they use check cashing services that charge 1 to 10% of the check value. If you're cashing a $500 paycheck every 2 weeks at 3%, you're losing $30 a month. That's $360 a year. Over a working lifetime of 40 years, that's $14,400 just to access your own money. And that's before we factor in inflation and opportunity cost. But why do people stay unbanked? Because they got burned before. They racked up fees they couldn't pay. The bank closed their account and reported them to check systems. Now they can't open a new account anywhere. Or they can't maintain the minimum balance requirement. Or they don't trust banks because banks have never done anything except take from them. So they're stuck in this parallel financial system that costs more for everything. Check cashing fees, money orders to pay bills, prepaid debit cards with monthly fees and transaction fees and ATM fees. It's expensive, it's inefficient, and it's designed to keep them exactly where they are. Banks literally charge you money for not having money. Your $4 coffee becomes a $38 coffee because your account was $2 short. And the system calls this fair. Now let's talk about the interest rate penalty, because this is where the math gets absolutely brutal. Your credit score determines what you pay for everything financed. And I mean everything. It's not just a number. It's a pricing tier that follows you everywhere. And if your score is low, because you're broke, you pay a premium on top of being broke. Let me show you exactly how much. Take a $30,000 car loan. Same car, same dealership, two different people walk in. Person A has a 720 credit score. Person B has a 580 credit score. Person A gets a 5.5% interest rate. Over 5 years, they'll pay $5,150 in interest. Person B gets a 16.5% interest rate. Over the same 5 years, they'll pay $16,850 in interest. Same car, same loan term, $11,700 more. That's the broke tax, printed right there on the loan documents. But it doesn't stop at cars. Credit cards charge you 15% if you have good credit, 28% if you don't. Personal loans follow the same pattern. Banks offer prime rate to people with money, 36% payday loans to people without it. And here's what really makes this vicious. Let's follow two people over 10 years. Same purchases, same car, same furniture, same appliances, same everything. One has good credit, one has poor credit. The person with good credit finances $30,000 for the car, $20,000 for various purchases over the decade. Total interest paid over 10 years, about $12,000. Total spent, $87,000. The person with poor credit finances the exact same things. Total interest paid, $55,000. Total spent, $142,000. Same stuff. $55,000 more. That's not a rounding error. That's a down payment on a house. That's 4 years of groceries. That's the difference between building wealth and treading water. And here's the trap within the trap. You need credit to build credit, but you need money to get credit. You can't get approved for the good credit card without credit history. You can't build credit history without getting approved for something. And the only things that will approve you charge rates so high that using them damages your ability to pay, which damages your credit, which keeps you in the high-rate tier. It's a mathematical catch-22. The system is designed to keep you in the expensive lane. Now let's talk about the bulk buying barrier, because this one is pure economic cruelty disguised as choice. When you have money, you can afford to save money. When you're broke, you can't. Let me explain the perverse math here. Walk into any store. 4-pack of toilet paper costs $5. That's $1.25 per roll. 24-pack costs $18. That's 75 cents per roll. If you can afford the 24-pack, you save 50 cents per roll. Over a year, on just toilet paper, that's about $30 saved. Now multiply that across everything. Paper towels, trash bags, laundry detergent, canned goods, rice, pasta, cleaning supplies. The annual difference on household essentials between buying small quantities and buying in bulk. $800 to $1,200. Costco membership pays for itself in about 3 months if you can actually use it. But it requires $60 up front, plus the ability to drop $200 on a shopping trip instead of $20. Most people living paycheck to paycheck can't do that, so they pay the poverty premium on every single purchase. Terry Pratchett explained this perfectly in his Boots Theory of Economic Injustice. A rich man can afford to buy a $100 pair of boots that will last 10 years. A poor man can only afford $20 boots that will last 1 year. Over 10 years, the rich man spends $100 on boots. The poor man spends $200 on boots. Same feet, same weather. Double the cost. This plays out everywhere in real life. Generic medicine bought in bulk at Costco versus single-dose packets at the corner store. Filling up your gas tank once versus putting in $10 at a time and making extra trips that waste gas. Owning a washer and dryer that costs $300 a year to run versus spending $1,500 a year at the laundromat. The math is clear. The upfront cost barrier keeps people trapped in the expensive option. Saving money requires having money. It's a members-only club, and the membership fee is not being broke. Let's move to transportation, because this is where the poverty trap becomes a death spiral. Unreliable transportation equals unreliable income. And unreliable income means you can't afford reliable transportation. Watch how fast this compounds. Your car needs an $800 repair. You don't have $800. So you buy a $2,000 beater instead. That beater needs $1,200 in repairs over the next 6 months because it's a beater. Meanwhile, it breaks down twice and you miss work both times. That's $400 in lost wages. You're now at $3,600 spent versus the original $800 repair you couldn't afford. But wait, it gets worse. Let's say you don't buy the beater. You use Uber to get to work instead. $15 each way, $30 a day, 5 days a week. That's $600 a month. $7,200 a year. For the same commute that would cost you $3,000 a year in gas and maintenance with a reliable car. Or maybe you take public transit in a city designed for cars. Now your commute takes 2 hours each way instead of 30 minutes. That's an extra 3 hours per day. 15 hours per week. 60 hours per month. 780 hours per year. Spent on buses and trains. At $15 an hour. That's $11,700 worth of your time gone. And if you're really desperate, you end up at a buy here, pay here lot. They sell you an overpriced car with mechanical problems at 24% interest. You're paying $15,000 for a car worth $6,000, and it'll break down before you finish paying it off. The data backs this up. AAA says average car ownership costs $10,728 per year. But people who are broke pay $13,000 to $15,000 for worse cars. They pay more for less. And when the car breaks down, they lose their job. When they lose their job, their financial position gets worse. When their financial position gets worse, they can only afford a worse car. It's a cycle. And every rotation costs more than the last one. Now here's the tax nobody talks about, the time tax. Being broke is a full-time job that doesn't pay. When you have money, you set up autopay, you order groceries delivered, you hire someone to do your taxes. Your financial life runs in the background while you focus on earning more or building skills or resting. When you're broke, you're manually managing everything. You juggle payment dates to avoid overdraft fees. That's 3 hours a month. You take 2 buses to the cheaper grocery store because you can't afford the close, expensive one. That's 6 hours a month. You wait at the social services office to renew benefits. That's 4 hours a month. You do your own taxes with free software, triple checking everything because you can't afford a mistake. That's 8 hours in April. Add it up. 13 hours per month minimum. Just managing the logistics of poverty. At $15 an hour, that's $195 a month. $2,340 a year in lost potential income. But you can't work those hours because you're busy being broke. You can't work overtime because you're exhausted from managing your financial life. You can't take night classes to improve your skills because you don't have the mental energy left. You can't invest in yourself because investing requires bandwidth you don't have. And speaking of bandwidth, there's a study from Princeton that found financial stress reduces cognitive capacity by 13 IQ points. That's equivalent to losing a full night of sleep. Your brain is running poverty.exe in the background 24/7. Every single purchase becomes a calculated risk. Every decision carries weight. Imagine you're deciding between a $3 meal and a $7 meal. Seems simple, right? But your brain is actually running 15 calculations simultaneously. Can I afford this? What else do I need this week? When's my next paycheck? Is my card going to decline? What if something unexpected happens tomorrow? Will I have enough for gas? That mental overhead is invisible to everyone else, but it's exhausting. It's decision fatigue at every transaction. The time tax and the mental tax compound each other. You're spending hours managing scarcity while operating at reduced mental capacity from the stress of scarcity. It's like trying to solve complex math problems while running a marathon. Sure, it's possible, but you're at a massive disadvantage compared to someone who gets to sit down with a calculator.